Come on in to the Awaken to Yourself podcast, where we discuss how to develop a deeper connection to yourself and therefore manifest that which you desire. My name is Fiona Christie and I'm joined by my co-host, Diane Clark Manley. Let's dive into this week's episode. This week, we're discussing how to make friends with all of your emotions and how they are closely linked to your intuition. Be sure to stick around until the end for some awesome strategies on how to enable your emotions to guide you towards better outcomes.
This series, The Life Shift, follows the modules from Fiona's course, The Life Shift with the Internalist Way. 12 modules which form a roadmap guiding you to connect with your own unique inner guidance system. In last week's episode, we talked about thought and the importance of aligning your thought, words, and action. Today, we're looking at the module called Emotion. This module looks at changing our mindsets about emotions. Rather than something to be avoided or fearful of, all emotions have a purpose. So stay tuned, because this week you'll be gaining an awareness of how they truly guide us through life. They are our biggest message delivery mechanism.
Have you ever wondered if there's a difference between feelings and emotions?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because there is.
So tell me, what is it?
Well, an emotion is actually a biochemical response to a trigger. The feeling is the conscious evaluation or appraisal of what we are experiencing.
That sounds complicated. How can you say it more simply?
Okay, well, so once we've noticed the physical experience of the emotion, the mental sensations that arise are known as feelings.
Okay, got you so far. Keep going.
So these feelings are how we make sense of the emotion. Like emotions, feelings are made up of our experiences, and they include things like our behavior, our culture, and life experiences.
So what you're saying is that when I throw a tenty after witnessing something annoying, it's because I haven't left enough time for my feelings to catch up with my emotions?
Well, even if you left enough time, you might still choose to throw a tenty. And we'll be discussing your choices about if you decide to or not next.
So what? You're saying I have a choice?
Yep. And just to quantify this, emotions and feelings are often used interchangeably in our writing and our speech, even though there is actually a difference.
Oh my God, the English language is so confusing at times. Jonathan Martinson has a great way of putting it when he says, feelings are much like waves. We can't stop them from coming, but we can choose which ones to surf. I really love that analogy.
Emotions have their own unique frequency, and like attracts like. So, whatever emotion you're feeling, you begin to notice situations, people, and things that match that emotion.
Did you ever stop and wonder where the phrase, I lost my rag, came from? It simply means to lose one's temper. The expression conveys the notion of being so upset that you metaphorically throw away your patience or calm demeanor. Emotions are like Wi-Fi signals. You can't see them, but they definitely affect how you connect with the world and also how you show up. Think about that statement for a moment, particularly the part where it says how you connect with the world. The emotions can be happy-go-lucky or big bang explosive, and if you've experienced the other end of the explosion, your connection will definitely be a quick exit. Suddenly, we lose our choices when we are in an emotionally stressed state. But imagine if we could intercept the tidal wave of emotions with space to first examine them.
At the Awakened Guru, we believe our emotions are our intuition at work behind the scenes, guiding us towards the pathway which has our best interests in heart. Our experiences are no coincidence. They are our own intuition steering us towards what we most need to explore at the time. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we consciously listened to and acknowledged our emotions or feelings, or feelings? Then we would be in a position of empowerment and choice as to how to respond to these emotions. This is a great place to highlight the sentence, which I know we covered in the previous episode, which was, that's good because, therefore, and so. That sentence is great because it acknowledges the emotion and gives you an opportunity to put a positive spin or angle to it. We believe it's a great strength to allow emotions to show and flow. And once you do that, you'll be more likely to emerge with a new perspective. To make it easy, let's group emotions into four main areas: sad, mad, glad, and scared. Of course, there are a lot of different words to describe emotions. For example, you feel anxious. Is that because you're sad, mad, or scared? Glad speaks for itself. All so-called positive emotions can come under the same descriptor of glad.
Emotions are like the colour palette of an artist. Just as colours add depth and meaning to a painting, emotions infuse life with richness and stories. They help you express your experiences, shape your decisions, and give you a deeper understanding of your inner world. Without them, life would be a canvas of muted greys, lacking the vibrancy and contrast that make it truly captivating. So emotions are neither good or bad. They are simply your guide, if you allow them.
We all have a story about emotions, and they are learned from our childhood onwards. When we're babies, we were allowed to cry, laugh, pull happy or sad faces, get angry, or express fear, because that was the way to let our carers know how to respond to us. At that young age, we don't have the words to express how we felt, so we used our outward facing emotions to tell the story. Probably around about 3 years of age, the adults in our world began to censor our emotions. No longer was it okay to cry when we misplaced our favourite toy or even to throw a tantrum in the supermarket. It was then that most of us learned that good emotions, those coming under the category of joy, were more acceptable. Phrases like, crying is for babies, pull yourself together, spring to mind, and I'm sure you can remember many more. What most of us failed to learn in the manual called life was that all emotions are good because they guide us towards the outcome which we most desire.
Are we reacting from our childhood beliefs? And maybe that's why it's called react, because we reenact the same story over and over again. Our emotions are there to help us learn our lessons in life, and we will actually keep repeating the same patterns until we learn them. But anyway, we'll continue to repeat the same scenario until we stop and notice which, of course, we learned about in episode 2. When we react, that behaviour may have been appropriate at age 2, but is it appropriate at 30 or 40, 50, or even 62? We will keep repeating until we get it. Emotions can deflect situations. They can help us deal with our behavior better if we realize that something winds us up. All we have to do is go to inwards and ask ourselves, in what area of my life am I doing the same thing just in a different way? For example, I get angry when my partner doesn't finish tasks he starts. All I have to do is say to myself, where am I unfinished? And then what happens is, once I acknowledge that and start finishing my own tasks, I'll notice he starts finishing too. If you get angry with your partner, stop and ask yourself, what does this anger have to do with my actions? The event mirrors back something within you. Some emotions are there to keep you safe from harm's way. Emotions are good, they are our guide when something is amiss. For example, look both ways before you cross the road. So, what we're saying is fear is great if a lion suddenly appears in the room. Here's an example of where my emotions and feelings had a message for me, and initially I didn't hear it. One night years ago, I was out for a celebration with the girls. It was getting late, and I decided I would head home early to study for an exam the next day. The quickest way to the car was down an dark alleyway. My friends asked if I'd be okay, and I replied, sure, I'm fine, not wanting to appear afraid of the dark. When I got halfway down the alley, I felt an uneasy feeling, and then I noticed a group of guys coming out of the car park. And when they saw me, they fanned out across the path, and one dropped to the ground pretending to tie his shoelace. I instinctively knew I had to run. At lightning speed, my memory kicked in, and I recalled a young couple about halfway back down the alley. So I knew that if I got to them, I'd be okay. I mean, they were actually passionately in love, young couple, kissing on the bench or whatever, but they were there, so I knew they wouldn't have probably moved. I focused my attention on getting to where they were, and as I turned, I heard someone call my name, and the girls had returned, as they'd also had that uneasy feeling. I ran in their direction, and the guys who followed me yelled out profanities. The feeling in my stomach, my gut feeling at the start, was my warning. Making decisions without checking in with your emotions is like leaving the outcome to chance. For those of you who are watching this podcast, this is a drawing of, well, what we're seeing on the screen is a drawing of the house that I purchased some years back after a marriage split, and my father did the drawing for me. When I began my search for the house, all of my friends asked me if I had my wish list of what I wanted in my home, which I did, the 10 top things. I found the perfect match for the list, but it left me feeling cold and I didn't love it. And then one day my brother rang me. I was living in a flat with someone else, and my brother rang and asked how I was, and I burst into tears. And he said, what's wrong? And I said, oh, I hate living here. And he said, well, buy the house that you and Dad looked at. You loved it, didn't you? Which wasn't the one that didn't match my wish list. And so once I got off the phone, I thought, God, it didn't fit my wish list. And it was then that I realized I realized what was missing. My emotions or feelings weren't on the list. I had forgotten to ask myself how I wanted to feel when I reached my destination, in other words, my home. The emotions I felt in the wrong house were my guide that something was missing. Once I identified the feelings I was after in my home, which were peace, tranquility, and privacy, I totally understood why the wish list house didn't work. It was down the bottom of a driveway with all the neighbours looking in, and there were so many more reasons why as well. The house I did buy, the one in the drawing, included how I wanted to feel. or it matched really how I wanted to feel. It didn't match anything on my wish list, but those were things that I could recreate in this house. And if I couldn't recreate them, then maybe I could look upon it in a different way and change my perspective. But the most important thing was I had to look after how I wanted to feel.
Now it's time to put what we've discussed into practice. Imagine if you acknowledge the emotion you've been feeling using a few of these strategies below. From they made me feel to shine the light, and the good one, that's good because. So, what about the time when my partner made me feel so angry I was about to lose my rag?
So here's a strategy called I choose to feel. The next time you hear yourself saying, they made me feel, stop and rephrase to, I choose to feel. So here's the first strategy, which is called I choose to feel. So the next time you hear yourself saying, they made me feel, stop and rephrase it to, I choose to feel. Okay, let's look at a scenario.
He left the unwashed, unstacked, unrinsed dishes all over the bench and then he left. And I'm feeling hopping mad. I'm feeling angry because he left the dishes for me to do.
Ah, but is him leaving the dishes the cause of your anger and sadness, really?
Well, no, the dishes are just there.
So then what's the anger about? He didn't do the dishes. What's beneath that?
Well, I'll have to do the dishes, I guess.
Is you having to do the dishes the reason that you're angry?
Yes, because I don't have the time either. But actually, the fact that he feels I should be the one to do the dishes and not him, oh, I get it. That's the real reason I'm angry. And actually, I'm feeling sad too. I feel like he doesn't value me or my time. Maybe that's the real reason I'm feeling like I am.
So listen up. The reality is he doesn't care if the dishes um, are left dirty on the bench. You do. The question is, do you want to feel like you're right, or do you want to feel, or do you want to be happy? Okay, now you've separated out his value from yours in this situation. So now you have a choice, or you have choices, which could be to do them with love because you love a tidy kitchen, or not to do them and to feel angry for the rest of the day, or to let them pile up and create a tidy piece of bench just for you instead. The question that we often ask our clients is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? This leads on to the possibility of a better dialogue, but that's for another day.
Hmm. So, emotions can deflect situations. They can help us deal with our behavior better. If we realize that something winds us up, all we have to do is go inwards and ask ourselves, in what area of our life are we doing the very same thing, simply in a different way? How is it that some people appear light and carefree when given the same situation, I'd be losing my rag?
Well, some of them might know about our shine the light strategy. It's great for getting underneath the emotion which is guiding you. Once the emotion sees the light, in other words, you haven't ignored it and shut it down, it spotlights the hidden issue, enabling you to investigate with your voice what the hidden issue is. Once you do that, the only way forward is to learn from this experience, and as a result, repeated patterns become less.
Shine the light enables you to shine the spotlight on your emotion. So whenever you feel sad, mad, or scared, or anything in between, then follow these steps. Number 1, thank the emotion. Number 2, say, I'm mad or scared or sad because, and then number 3, try the same sentence using therefore instead of because. Another option is to use and so at the end. And of course, number 5, answer the question, what else could this mean? Before the 6th step is to finally it's time to decide if you want to change your perspective about the situation.
What was that strategy we used in last week's episode? Something like good because? Look, there's a lot to take in. Sorry, but I'm about to lose my rag yet again. That's right. That little gem, I remember now, was the that's good strategy. We think it's so good that we have to repeat it here. What you do whenever something doesn't go as you'd planned or hoped is to say to yourself, that's good. And then you add either because, therefore, or and so, or use all three. John Kabat-Zinn has a great analogy for the emotions. He says, you can't control the waves, but you can learn how to surf. Wow, well, wasn't that a roller coaster of emotions? So much to remember, so little time. Is it an emotion or is it a feeling?
Well, it actually doesn't matter. What matters is your relationship with your emotions. You have a choice. Remember, what we unearthed is that you need to befriend your emotions, and emotions are neither good or bad. So now it's time to imagine what would happen if we use some of these strategies to empower you to keep you cool.
The significant people in your life might wonder what the heck have they done with your name, but what the heck have they done with Fiona? Go on, we dare you. It'll be fun if nothing else. By now, maybe you're curious about the actual course, The Life Shift with the Internalist Way, which this series is based on. We haven't said much about it other than giving you a wee snippet of teachings from it. So here's a bit of a lowdown. Each course module contains videos, guidebooks, and a workbook. There are bonus sessions including guided meditations. There's an interactive roadmap in the middle of the course, which you get to play with and decide on which street you want to participate on, and so much more. If you're interested in learning more, visit theawakenedguru.com/the life shift to learn more.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode about emotion. Next week, we'll be exploring your roadmap, the metaphorical journey you're traveling.
And if you haven't already, be sure to get on the list so you receive advance notice when our next episode goes live. To do that, just head over to our website, theawakenedguru.com, and sign up for any of the freebies in there, and you'll receive the alerts.
So it's bye for now from Diane.
And bye for now from Fiona, and we hope to see you on the next episode.